Was Jesus a victim of MK Ultra mind control? I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian whistleblower, coming to you from an undisclosed location somewhere deep in the heartland of America, from the heartland to your heart at least. That's our hope. Was Jesus under MK Ultra mind control influence? Well, of course he wasn't under MK Ultra mind control influence. And let me save you. They're about ready to fire up your tweets and your comments. I know that MK Ultra was not around when Jesus was around. I know that it wasn't really a thing then, but I'm going to show you and I'm going to tell you that Jesus was under mind control. And more than that, I'm going to prove it to you, ladies and gentlemen. So, Jeff, why do you want to prove to us that Jesus was under mind control? Well, because I want to ask you if you're under mind control. And then I want to show you some things that suggest that you just might be. And if you're not, and if you're acting with your full mind, if you're acting with your full will, then, and you're doing what you want to do, great. But if you're not, I think you deserve the right to question and to wonder and to say, is it okay what I'm doing? Is it okay what I'm going through? Is it okay where I'm at? So was Jesus under MK Ultra mind control? No, not MK Ultra, because MK Ultra wasn't around then. But was Jesus under mind control? You tell me. Let's take a look at the scriptures here briefly. And it doesn't matter whether you believe he was real or not. That's not the argument today. The argument is, if he was real and if it happened, and it happened the way it says it happened, was he under MK Ultra? You know what I mean? Mind control. So we're in the Garden of Gethsemane, ladies and gentlemen, just hours before the alleged crucifixion. And Jesus himself says that he's beginning to feel sorrowful. He's beginning to feel very heavy. And then he says, my soul's exceedingly sorrowful. It's sorrowful even unto death. Let's see what he was saying, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see what Jesus was saying in the Garden of Gethsemane, ladies and gentlemen. He was sorrowful. What does that word mean? He was in distress. He was grieving. He was in deep grief. He was experiencing deep emotional pain and severe sorrow. Very intense, so intense it can be compared to the pain of childbirth. Men, we tremble at that thought. Women, you understand it. But that's how bad off he was. And also, he was deeply distressed. He felt fear. He lacked courage. He was troubled. He was distressed in the Garden of Eden. No, the Garden of Gethsemane. I don't know how he was in the Garden of Eden, but that's another podcast. But at the Garden of Gethsemane, he was those things. And then he confessed. He said out loud, listen, cousins, I am very sad. I am greatly grieved. I have an all-encompassing sorrow. I am engulfed, he said, in sorrow to the point of death. I just want to die. I physically want to die. I spiritually want to die. I want to give up. This is what Jesus said. He said it once. He said it twice, and I'm not going to subject you to them, but three more times he said it here. 5 times. Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane said, listen, I am sorrowful. I am totally beside myself. I don't want to do this. I don't want to give into this. I want to run away. And you know what the result was. The father stepped in and said, go and do it anyway. So why does a man who's overwhelmed, why does a man who's terribly sorrowful, why does a man who doesn't want to do something end up doing that very thing, ladies and gentlemen, that he said he didn't want to do, that he confessed he didn't want to do? How do you come up with that? How does it happen? Let me share some interesting thoughts with you. Here's the first one. Mind control comes under the umbrella of persuasion and influence. Changing people's beliefs and behaviors. Jesus was of the belief he didn't want to die. Jesus' behavior was saying, I don't want to be crucified. And yet, he wound up, as the story goes, he wound up, ladies and gentlemen, on that cross, didn't he? Why did he wind up on that cross? May I suggest to you this little tidbit of information. The psychologist Philip Zimbardo says that mind control is a process by which individual or collective freedom of choice and action is compromised by agents or agencies that modify, distort perception, motivation, affect, cognition, and or behavioral outcomes. The man was so upset he was literally sweating blood because the capillaries in his skin had burst under the great, tremendous stress he was under. Was he under mind control? I'll leave it to you to answer that question. Was he under mind control, ladies and gentlemen? Well, you know what? Nobody forced him to do it. He went by himself. It was under his own decision. Often in mind control, there is no force involved. There is force involved. There may or may not be physical force, but there's definitely psychological and social force and pressure. I don't want to do it. 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 Okay, I'll do it. Was Jesus under MK Ultra mind control when he did this thing, ladies and gentlemen? Before you answer, consider this. Mind control is subtle and sophisticated because the person doing the manipulation is often considered a friend or a teacher. So much so the victim doesn't even try to defend themselves. The victim might be a willing participant, believing that the manipulator has their best interest in mind. Information used against them. This makes mind control as dangerous, if not more so, than physical coercion. In other words, it can be even more effective than torture, physical abuse, drugs, etc. If Jesus said no once, no twice, no 3 times, no 4 times, no 5 times, and he did, and he was coerced and talked into and manipulated to doing what he said he didn't want to do 5 times, I ask you, who was the person doing the manipulation? Often considered a friend, even a father. Who was the person that made Jesus finally cave to being a willing participant? Who was the person that said that and was a manipulator and said that he had Jesus' best interest in mind, your best interest in mind, my best interest in mind? Who was the manipulator? Who was the mind controller? Was it the father? I don't know if it's as dangerous as physical coercion. I don't know if it's more effective than torture, but I know that it was effective enough to make a man that said no, 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 finally say yes and subject himself even to torture and even to death. And it was done by a manipulator. It was done by a person who was considered a close friend at the least. Did Jesus suffer MK Ultra style mind control. What do you think? Well, another thing I thought about as we're pondering this idea is a lot of times these people that are under MK Ultra mind control, the ones we see modern times, the ones that commit atrocities, whether it's a theater, a game, gathering of people that commit these atrocities, and they've got these blank looks, they've got these blank stares, and they ask them questions, and they're just MK mind controlled. MK mind controlled. And so I started thinking about Jesus and that reference, and I came up with, and there's many more verses, but I came up with this one. Pilate, who was the one that was accusing him, as the story goes. He's like, man, don't you hear what these charges are against you? Don't you understand what they're going to do to you? But Jesus, just like a person under MK mind control, just like a person under subversion and coercion by others, Jesus gave no answer, not even to a single charge, much to Pilate's amazement. Pilate was blown away that this guy was just not saying anything. Is this an indication that Jesus was under MK Ultra mind control? My final exhibition would be this verse. If you're a Christian, you know it, because if you're a Christian, it's one of the cornerstones of your faith. And it goes again to the way people act when they're under MK Ultra mind control. It's from Isaiah. He's borne our griefs. He's carried our sorrows. He was smitten of God, stricken, afflicted, wounded for our transgressions, bruised for our iniquities, chastisement of our peace upon him. With his stripes we're healed. All we like sheep have gone astray. We've turned away. He was oppressed. He was afflicted. By whom? And yet he opened not his mouth. As a lamb brought to the slaughter, as a sheep before her shearers is dumb, he opened not his mouth. As a sheep before her shearers is dumb, he opened not his mouth. I didn't even think about looking up that word dumb. What does it say? As a sheep before its shearers. What does that word dumb mean? And does it give us some information about whether or not he was indeed under mind control? Let's look at that word, dumb. What was he before his accusers? What was he before his slaughterers? Oh my. This is coming right from the text before I show it to you. And the text doesn't care what you think. Text doesn't care what you've been taught. Text doesn't care what you believe. The text just is, what was Jesus before his accusers? Here's the word. Let me go back and show you that it really is the word. Silent is what it says. Dumb in the King James. Silent. What does it mean? Bound. 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 He was bound in his mind. He was mute. He had been silenced. Was Jesus under MK Ultra mind control? You tell me if Jesus was under MK Ultra mind control. Well, Jeff, what does it even mean? Why are you even doing this? Well, let me show you. Because if you're a Christian, you've been here, or if you're thinking about a Christian, somebody wants to bring you here. Let me show you a little thing about the altar, ladies and gentlemen. When you come down to get saved, what do? You go to an altar, right? Well, this is a picture of the altar of the temple in Jerusalem. And there was so much blood shed at that altar that they had to put a pipe on it so that the blood would flow down into this brook called the Kidron. So much blood was shed that the blood would run through this pipe, down these stairs, and into this river. And because they wanted to be dramatic on Passover, they would actually block up the drains. And because the priests were required not to wear shoes, they would walk around in the blood. They would actually walk around in the blood of the sacrificed animals. And you, when you go down and become a Christian, what do? You go down to the altar. Oh, but there's no sacrificed animals there at the altar. We're just going down to receive Jesus as our personal Savior. Oh, yeah, you are going down to receive Jesus as your personal Savior. And remember what he was? He was an offering at a torture stake. And then what do? You ask him to cover you in his blood. Cover you in his blood. The last time I heard about somebody covering themselves in blood, her name was Countess Bathory, and she took baths in people's blood. And then what do? You give away your soul. You give your soul to God. All I could find was pictures of people giving their soul to the devil, because that's the only thing there's a reference to in any culture, is giving your soul to a devil. And then you ask Jesus to come in your heart. In other words, you get possessed. You get possessed. And just to remind you, the way that you keep it all going, the thing that you do regularly is you eat flesh and you drink blood. So the question really isn't, was Jesus under MK Ultra mind control? The question is, are you? In any other context, this scenario is horrific. Do you really think putting it in a church redeems it at all? Who would use such techniques? Destroying the lives of others for their own selfish benefits. Who would manipulate others simply because they can or because they want the control? The answer is psychopaths, sociopaths, narcissists, manipulative men, psychopaths, narcissists, those who have no conscience. I ask you, who orchestrates this scenario? And the answer is the one that you call the Father. Was Jesus under MK Ultra mind control? Are you under MK Ultra mind control? Are you considering partaking in that ritual that I just graphically described? And if so, are you doing it of your own will? Are you doing it with full knowledge and volition? Are you sure you want to? Well, if you do, that's up to you. But hopefully, we've given you a little something to think about. Was Jesus under MK Ultra mind control? The evidence is compelling. Are you under mind control, or were you under mind control when you partook in that ceremony? Only you know. Only you can answer that question. Let me go to the chat room real quickly. Know yourself, no mind control. It's a work, not a saying. Exactly. Thank you, Mod Wiz. Nice to see you. Tracy Dyer says it was paralysis brought about by mind control, I would say. Nancy is here. She said it is here. Material Classified is here. Charlie E says, we know what the mental capacity of sheep is. Did it says, what? Yeah, I agree. Evil Monkey says, go away, crap Bible, truck it. I'm not sure what that means, but thank you for being here. 333D3D worldwide, all ears, JD. Jennifer Fuel, once you say I've learned it all, you've stopped growing. and what doesn't grow is dead. Those are facts. Naive Luther, glad to be here. Brad McMahon, that's not very encouraging or edifying. No, it's not. Annie Kurtz says, uh-oh. Mark Perry asked if Jesus had MK Ultra glitches. Looks like. Robert Del Giorno says, oh boy, here we go. I hate the altar, and I was an altar boy. I wonder if there's a connection. Hopefully you didn't suffer the fate of many altar boys. Nancy, thought you couldn't hear. Jeff, no, I can hear. Jaslit, let's talk about how the earth is a bowl. Amanda B says, good morning. Good morning to you, Amanda. Our thoughts and prayers, you know what I mean, are with you. Lisa Gallant says, remember the red shoes, symbolic of bloodshed, in her opinion, at least. Joyce Marie says, ich. Melissa V says, disgusting. Tracy Dyer thought Thomas so mind controlled he thought it was Jesus. Yes, we've been through that, and we'll go through that again. Oh, my God. Brad McMahon, threatening hell. That's a job for a loving, merciful Father. Absolutely. Annie Kurtz, good to see you. Native Luther, good to see you. Elizabeth Coleman, the red shoes make sense now. Unfortunately, they do. Let's see. Are you serious? I had no idea. It's gross and barbaric. Yes, indeed it is, Jennifer Fuel. Annie Kurtz. You know, Annie makes this statement that Jay, I guess speaking of Jesus, came to stop that nonsense. Well, if it's true that he came to stop that nonsense, then why did he allow himself to be MK Ultra mind controlled? And if it's true that he came to stop that nonsense, why did he participate in that nonsense? I'm here to stop child pornography. Let me take some pictures of naked little kids. I'm here to stop pedophilia. Let me have sex with little kids. I'm here to stop drug addiction. Let me shoot some heroin. I'm here to prevent alcoholism. Let me drink a fifth of Jack Daniels. I'm confused if that's the way it went down. I'm just saying. Evil Monkey, good to see you. Terry Electra, good to see you. Robert Del Giorno, glad he's not a Catholic. Did it. Nice to see you. Robert Volpak, Wash in Blood sounds like something out of a vampire movie. Exactly, it does. But yet you sing the song, are you washed in the blood, in the soul cleansing blood of the Lamb? Are your garments spotless? Are they white as snow? Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb? Think about what you're singing. Think about what you're singing. Kelly Anders says, wow. Charlotte E says, nuances of new insights always come true. Thank you. Street King, twice in one day. Yeah, I couldn't keep this one down. Mod Wiz, elites worship Jehovah. Yes, they know he's a blood god. Angelina, Seven Love. Nice to see you. Pam King, I need to put you in my pocket when I go see my sister. Maybe not, but you could take your phone with you and show her that, ladies and gentlemen. So gross, says Susie Q. Eric Saka, yes, buzzing in my head and a kink in my neck. Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, was Jesus a victim of mind control? I don't know how you can look at those verses. And like we just had, who do we have on? David Weiss. Talking about flat earth, but talking about how they have to tell us the truth. The elites. It is a law of it's a law of natural law that they must tell us the truth, and we must submit to that truth. And if you can see a guy saying 5 times, I don't want to do it, that gets coerced into doing it and not see it, then you know what? The chances are that you don't want to see it. And if you don't want to see it, then I'm not here. I got nothing else for you. I'm here to show you the objective facts. If you're not ready to look at them, you're not the person I'm looking for. And I'm not the person you're looking for. But if you have seen, if you have understood, then I encourage you to make your own decision based upon all of the information that has been given to you. We're the last generation of real humans. If we don't win, we understand that history is written by the winners. And if we don't win, no one knows what we did here. It's all been for naught. I say let's win today. So tomorrow we can build a better world, and we can write the history of a time when people fed up with the lying, the killing, fed up with the fear, fed up with the guilt, fed up with the control, rose up, realized they were divine, they were sovereign, they were free, and together they could not be stopped. Let us win today, build a better tomorrow, and write the history of a victory of a people over oppressors. We're the last generation of real humans. We can do it if we get busy.